team fight. It's a fight for some people's stomachs. Yeah, it's survivor. That's what this game is about. The CSUs. Some is survivor because they are not sure how the new special prosecutor will come in. Because remember, I have a pending petition for the removal of Kissi Agyabeng for a lot of the conflict of interest, for a lot of the corruption he's involved in.
So you have put in a petition to the president.
Yes, I'm not disclosing the details, but at least I'm saying that I have put in a petition.
Okay.
Yes.
Right. But how can this particular issue be addressed? And the special prosecutor himself acknowledges that there's a certain fight for survival, because that's why I played this tape to precede our conversation, that he says some things need to be done so that the next special prosecutor after him will not spend too much of the time fighting for survival.
Yeah.
As in the office surviving. How can these issues with the law that established the office be addressed without it appearing to be an attack on the office and its efficiency in the fight against corruption?
Well, what's happening is that, like he said, as for the office, look, as for the office, it's here to stay. There's already been a Supreme Court decision, okay, concerning Martin Amidu. And from the way that Supreme Court decision went, if the office was unconstitutional, it would have come down.
His age was
exactly. Yes. So peripherally, as for the office, we all embrace it. Let's separate the fights. The thing is not about the office. Yeah. It's actually about how the power is exercised. That's the power to prosecute. And the reason you find people like us wishing that there is a supervision of the power to prosecute is that I have 1,001 cases in which you find that a group of people are alleged to be involved in corruption, etc. Then Kissi Agyabeng will pick and choose. So the biggest mistake we've made, we pick and choose those you prosecute and those you leave out, and then we feel like, remember I have this famous example I used to cite that there was Clara Napaga Tia Suleimana, very close to Akufo-Addo at the time. She was the last person to approve for the NDA case that went. You took all the sabotage and left the Ogboro, the madam, who finally approved, because she's very close, Akufo-Addo's friend. Kissi Agyabeng left out Napaga Tia, Clara, etc. There are 1,001 cases. The very case that led to the High Court decision is because of favoritism, Kissi Agyabeng's links to Techi Mensing, etc. Okay?
So there was the NDA case, there was a matter in court this week.
Yes.
The Tamale was supposed to deliver a judgment.
Yes, but it couldn't.
And then they
couldn't. I should think it's because of the High Court decision. To be very honest with you, Ghanaians, listen, me, with what I've heard and seen how Kissi Agyabeng has handled the office, listen, to be honest, look, even if they were to free all the people, it's not my matter. We can start afresh because what he's involved in is
that's for you to prove. Well, that's for you to prove.
If you hear, yes, that's if you see me talk like this, he knows it. He can't face me on it.
That's for you to prove.
I'll wait for the day I'll publish my petition and you see. I'm very upset
that's
about
because
this
at some point
we are not fighting corruption. This is joking.
When the Chief Justice,
it's a complete joke.
Hold on. When the Chief Justice, now your petition has been referred to the Chief Justice.
Yeah.
There's a process that it has to go through.
Yes.
Eventually, the CJ will let us know. The verdict will be known to all of us going forward.
Yes.
The question is about, you have an issue with the person. Now, I'm talking about the office.
Oh, as for the office, there's no issue at all. Is that let's limit it. The office there is going to survive. Let's be very clear. The office is going to survive. Hey, we need it seriously. But now what we need is that Kissi's governorship, okay, Kissi's governance of the area, his leadership, is shown us that the law is very weak. You see, when you present a petition, it takes too long. We need to rework the law so that we keep the special prosecutor in check. It's not every special prosecutor who have the character of Martin Amidu. And Kissi Agyabeng has taught us a very hard lesson. That you see, look at Martin Amidu's character and look at Kissi, then you see that, hey, we've learned that lesson, that the special prosecutor will not always be an angel. So even before you talk about independence, the first law you need is ethics around the special prosecutors himself, the individual. So that you don't have a situation where Kissi Agyabeng allows his client, Ofori-Atta, your former client, you allow him to abscond with 5 cases on his head. You allow your friends, Kingsley Agyemang, he's sitting in parliament now when he should have been facing court, etc. That is
these issues have you raised because we don't know, and then obviously it is for you to prove. That's why I kept referencing the fact that if you've captured it in the petitions you have sent, and when called upon, you can actually adduce evidence to that effect.
Yes, so what I'll do is, as for Kingsley Agyemang's case, we show the statements of the people who confessed that Kingsley Agyemang gave them scholarships to smear Atachian so that Kingsley Agyemang. We show them here on this program, etc.
The exercise of the authority.
Yes.
Will the OSP seeking authorization from the special that's the Attorney General in any way undermine the efficiency and the impact of the office?
I don't see it because, listen, Attorney General has said it publicly that if Kingsley Agyemang applies for it, he will give. But right now, our major problem, you see, we are losing focus. It's not just the authorization. What we should be more interested, the reason these fights are ongoing is that he himself is promoting corruption through the various things.
Counsel, that's what for
I've
you
already
to
given
prevent.
reason. Yes, that's my interpretation.
As I say,
yeah, you can disassociate yourself. And TV3, I know TV. But I am saying that Ofori-Atta, he's allowing Ofori-Atta to run away. Kingsley Agyemang sitting in parliament, not facing court, etc. He said Jabin is promoting
but I'm saying that.
So that is what is fueling all of this.
But I asked a question, and you are saying that you, with the seeking authorization from the Attorney General, is not going to in any way. That's not the issue.
But
that's at the heart of what we
it's just playing out. That's the surface, because the Attorney General, I can show you, he's told lawyers publicly that he will issue it pro tanto the moment he says Jabin there's a request for it. The real fight is not just about the authorization. The real fight we are confronted with is a partisan OSP who is doing things to favor himself and his friends, promoting corruption. That is what is really fueling this thing. Where we are is a joke. The Supreme Court asked for throwing out that office. It will never happen. The office is here to stay. The big problem is how we didn't put in rules to keep the special prosecutor himself in check. We just presume that if you take anybody to come and fight corruption, ipso facto, the person will stop his personal weaknesses. All his personal weaknesses will suddenly disappear and he'll become an angel. That is where the fight is. As for authorization, that is not the real fight. Because now the hard lesson, as I say, is that you are giving authorization to somebody who is also aiding corruption.
That is for you to prove, and I keep saying that all the time.
There is publicly available evidence. He said Jabin said he couldn't shout, Julo.
But that's not for him to shout.
Julo, the one that got me to be... Oh, this will yes. Let me complete this sentence. Remember, I kept saying that he said Jabin couldn't shout, Julo, for us to arrest Ofori-Atta. Ofori-Atta that he worked for, Ofori-Atta that is a relation to Gabi and President Kufuor, etc. And so we are saying that is corruption in itself, etc. And you are saying that it's just authorization. We are learning the hardest lesson, that the fact that you put somebody in charge of corruption doesn't mean that that person himself is immune from corruption. That is where the real fight is. That is where the real fight is. And
that is what I've stated continuously, that since you have already told us that you have captured this in your petition, that's for you to prove, right? And consistently, as you refer, because I'm actually not going to go on that path, because if I keep asking you even to prove it, and because that's why when you keep referencing the fact that he's engaged in corruption, that's because you've captured it in your petition.
It's publicly available
not going to
information.
Go into the details so that we don't have to. Perfect. Now, the concern that the CSOs raise is about how this would impact the fight against corruption. And that's why I started from that perspective. Your position is that all of this is not going to...
Yeah, that's not the real fight.
Bento, I'll bring you in on this particular issue as to whether this is not the real issue, the authorization that the OSP is being asked to seek from the Attorney General before prosecuting any case in the name of the state.
Article 88(4), I read, all offenses prosecuted in the name of the Republic of Ghana shall be at the suit of the Attorney General or any other person authorized. It's not only the Attorney General. Any other person authorized. And how is the authorization going to come? By him in accordance with law. So there are a number of things there. One, there can be laws through which the authorization of the Attorney General can be passed on to other people. Who passes law? Parliament. Look, we are straining, we are passing sentences, we are splitting hairs about this matter, okay? But a number of things must be established, okay? Yeah. One, this fight about the office of the special prosecutor, too much of it has to do with the person of Mr. Kissie Agyabeng and people's disagreements with him, just like you've heard from Martin, all right? And I think that is distracting from the main mission, okay? Next thing, the office of the special prosecutor is an entity that we are unanimous about in terms of needing it, in terms of the fight against corruption. Okay, the third point that must be established beyond doubt is the attack on the office of the special prosecutor is doing damage to our fight against corruption. This week alone.
The attack on the office.
Yes, there's an attack on the office. It's doing terrible damage. This week alone, because of the this attack, which has shaken the authority of the special prosecutor, there are a series of applications in court, all right, stopping these prosecutions until this matter is settled.
True.
And the question has to be asked, what does that do in terms of that very wide-ranging, consequential order from the High Court, which I think was totally per incuriam and, out of his authority, basically making nonsense of other prosecutions. Okay, he's put in abeyance and in, jeopardy everything that the special prosecutor is doing. And I ask myself, so what are they saying in terms of the case of Ken Ofori-Atta right now? Okay, and all the other people that, they are going after. My point is this. We are agreed on the main issues. And okay, so this fight about these peripheral issues and, you should go and just ask for the authorization. Look, there are strategic issues here. If we are saying, and there's a law to that effect, read the law, there's an LI to that effect, that indeed he doesn't need to have express authority from the Attorney General.
You reference 88.4.
Yes, I reference 4. You see,
all offences prosecuted in the name of the Republic of Ghana shall be at the suit of the Attorney General or any other person authorized by him in accordance with law. Any law.
So other people may do it. Laws may confer authority.
Does it mean that he doesn't need any express authorization from the Attorney General because the law has taken?
You see, the thing about law is it's not mathematics. 1 + 1 is 2 in New York and it's 2 here. But when you come to the interpretation of this, it is clear to me that one, the AG may prosecute. Other people may prosecute. Today in this country, other people prosecute. GRA prosecutes, SNIT prosecutes, police prosecute, other people prosecute. Okay, AG can give them authority to prosecute, or that authority can be gotten from a law. And we were all part of the discussion. We passed the law and put in the law that that authority has been granted. Then they said, oh, Eli, look at the Hansard. The narration is there. The speaker raised the issue. AG Ayine raised the issue. They dealt with it and said, look, we don't want to do something which will create a situation of co-warranto, which is where we are today. And so they passed LI, etc. It's the AG herself who took it there. Look, there is strong interpretation to the effect that the OSP does not need express authorization from the AG, because indeed, if he does, there's no use for that office. The exact reason why the OSP was set up is because we don't want a situation where the AG can interfere in their work, authorize them to do or authorize them not to do. So that thing I think is settled. But I said, we are having this fight because people have a problem, specifically with, Kissie Agyabeng.
The person?
Yes, the person, yes. And I have said, okay, I have my own problems with how Kissie Agyabeng handled Ken Ofori-Atta's case, and I've been proven right on everything. But I have also said that Kissie Agyabeng, I took the unions of TOR, Tamale Refinery, went to him, made petitions, and he did a fantastic job, which has saved Tamale Refinery. So nobody can go to any extreme and say it's a useless office, it's never so, or that Kissie has not done anything. He has done a lot. We have had Yoko sitting there for all these years. People have used them as their private, whatever it is, to run around. Why are we not going after Yoko? All right, and I think that comparing all of these things, we can't say that he's done nothing or whatever it is. But yes, the issues are clear. High expectations, okay, or maybe he has the highest expectation in terms of anti-corruption, okay, and it's creating those problems. We are throwing the baby out with the bathwater, attacking that office the way we are doing, because, like I said, this week alone, many cases involving him have been suspended.
Well, at least. And now, what about 2? You had the case of the Republic versus Ken Ofori-Atta and the 7 others, and then the Mustafa Hamid case.
Former AG Dame went to court, okay, and also many people have filed You know, in fact, anything involving the OSP now is in jeopardy because of that wide-ranging
High Court
ruling that was given, you know, in that High Court, you know, which is also another matter. Okay, so my point is, look, we are cutting our nose to spite our face. Whichever way it is, look, we should quickly amend the Constitution. The Prempeh Committee has finished its job. I don't know why we are still wasting time. Let's get on with that business, establish that office properly, and then really focus on doing this anti-corruption thing properly. We are just going and coming, and all of us are the losers for that.
Well, Phyllis Kwachof also did indicate this week that there's the implementation committee is going to be established soon.
Implementation to do what?
For the recommendations of the
I think it's a mistake.
Prempeh.
You don't do an implementation committee
in fact,
to do
actually a committee that's going to be established.
No, I'm saying, I think it's a mistake. You see, look, the president cannot amend our constitution. That's clear. The constitution is amended in parliament or by a referendum. Okay, it's okay for the president to set up a commission to go and look at all the things that we need to amend. President Mills did it. Why did it die? It died because it became too much the work of the president. And we have suggested that, look, Mr. President, don't let it look like you are amending our constitution, setting up committees and whatever it is. Ship the thing off to parliament. Okay, step off a bit. So this whole thing, one, is delaying it, and to look at what we are suffering because of it. We need to get down. We are clear in our minds, okay, that we need to amend our constitution. Why are we pussyfooting about it and setting up all committees, commissions? We've had two. Why? Get on with it, do the job, and then all these things will find their level. Instead of going back and forth, and then High Court is saying this, another High Court is saying we are not bound by your ruling. Meanwhile, the Supreme Court is seized with the same matter. Today, we have to file amicus. There was a hearing to the effect in the Supreme Court where it was ruled that they don't need the presence of the OSP, okay, to determine the matter. And so it didn't have to be joined. Now there are other things that have come up and it's going to be joined. It's a mess. Meanwhile, we know what we have to do. Let's get on with it, spend the energy, do it, and move on.
But why do you describe this as an attack on the OSP?
Is there any other way? The OSP's office has been an attack by my own client, Martin Kpebu. Okay? And for good reason. All right? I mean, off here, we've had all kinds of discussions, okay? And people are definitely upset. The irony between me and Martin, okay, is that I am upset about the way the Ken Ofori-Atta case was handled, because I said from the beginning that it was handled poorly, and because of that, that case will not go well. Okay, he was also upset about the same case, but on the other hand, that he thinks different things should have been done. My point is, why? On both ends, we are fighting, and clearly there's an attack. People are saying Kissi is making decisions that they think are not right, etc. Okay, I mean, maybe he has to defend himself. Maybe he cannot defend himself because of his office. He has said all kinds of things, but clearly it's not going, well. Martin Amidu didn't have that kind of problem. Of course, he didn't do as much as Kissi did. But the point is, clearly there's something about the person of the special prosecutor, the person who is there, which is generating a lot of attack against the office. And that collateral damage being done is not good. All right? You've gone all the way to having, a High Court judge having the confidence to make a very wide-ranging ruling when the issue of interpretation was in the Supreme Court and was being heard. And everybody will tell you that, look, he should have deferred to that. Other courts are saying we are not bound by what that High Court judge has done. What kind of confusion is this?
Well, on the matter of jurisdiction, the trial judge at the High Court, which you reference, he sought to answer this, and this is just a portion of the ruling which has been made public, by the way. It says whether or not, and these are the issue he raised, there is a matter for constitutional interpretation, and this is his position. For a better appreciation of the matter, the relevant portions of the respondent's affidavit in opposition are set out below. 14. The respondent further states that the relief sought by the fourth accused person, that is, raised a matter of interpretation of Article 884, and the respondent in this instance is the OSP of the Constitution, vis-a-vis the Section 4.2 of Act 959, which is the act that establishes the office, which falls within the exclusive jurisdiction of the Supreme Court to determine questions of constitutional interpretation. And he goes on to say the authorities have established that where the language of the legal text is clear, it only calls for application and not interpretation. And he references case law.
Yes.
Republic versus Michael Khan. So it has been stated in the case of Bedema versus Awuno Williams unless the words of a statute are imprecise and ambiguous, the court does not apply the rules and presumptions of construction.
Yes.
Unless the primary or popular literal meanings of the words are disputed, the interpretation of the word is unnecessary.
I agree. Look, every constitutional lawyer knows this well. I have used it many times, and it is correct and true. The problem here is this. See, you have a high court judge. You see, like I said, law is not mathematics. 1 + 1 is 2 everywhere. But when it comes to this, other people interpret things differently. Now, judges have wide discretion. He has exercised the discretion in one way, to say he doesn't see an issue of interpretation.
Sure.
Many other judges will tell you that, look, once that has been raised, even if I don't see it, for a number of reasons. One, because the Supreme Court is already seized with that matter, I would defer to them. Okay. 2, judges have to be broader in their thinking when it comes to the consequence of their actions in exercising their discretion. Now, by exercising the discretion to the effect that there was no issue of interpretation there, and therefore he will proceed to rule on the matter, and ruling on the matter, and then going forth to give wide-ranging consequential orders to the effect that other cases done by the OSP were basically null and void. Look at the effect it has had on the whole country. Put in jeopardy the whole office, put in jeopardy every case that he's done, even previous cases. You understand? So when a judge exercises discretion, you ask yourself, what is the effect of what they have done? That's how you judge the quality of the discretion that he has exercised. And I think this discretion, the exercise of this judge's discretion, and by the way, we are free to criticize judges. And my criticism of this is that, of him, is that if his discretion was exercised properly, it would have created calm and not confusion. What we have now is a lot of confusion. Okay, so I say he didn't exercise it properly, and others would have deferred to the Supreme Court. All right, so the point we are making is that, look, we are heading towards something. Okay, and everybody must be working towards that same thing. This ruling and the orders that followed work against the fight against corruption, and we are seeing it now. Everything is suspended. Okay, what about people who may be in jail? Okay, what happens to the case of Ken Ofori-Atta? Is it going or coming? Is it on or off? Okay, what's going on, and how do we resolve this? Some courts are saying they are going ahead, others are saying, well, we have to be bound by this. The Supreme Court said that we are going to hear this matter. It's confusing. Okay, then we all have to come here. Look, it's been how many weeks now we keep beating this issue? Okay, so the point is this. Look, let us resolve finally and durably the issue of the office of the special prosecutor, and that will be done in the Constitution. We have had 2 commissions already. We've come across 1 year. Prempeh has issued his report. Okay, the energy must be towards having that thing done, sorted out, cleaned up, and put away.
Okay.
Indeed, when we're doing the office, what we did was say the corruption was so bad, we needed to make a special case of that office, take it out and establish it whilst we're working on the constitutional review. Okay, we've done it. It's worked for 8 years or so. Okay, we've come to this point. For some reason, there's a huge attack against the office. Maybe we can single it out and fix that problem. But if fixing it means a referendum, for instance, we can't do that one alone and leave the rest. So my point is, all the energy should be put towards fixing it durably in the constitutional review. Why are we not going forward with the constitutional review? Why is the president now setting up another committee? To do what? That's what we should do. Fix the constitution, solve this problem.
Great. Now, you this week when you saw the demands of the CSOs, and including the demand for the president to speak on this matter, because when you, together with Mama Yariga, sought to table a private member's bill questioning the essence of the office of the special prosecutor, the president spoke and appealed to you, in fact, to rescind that path that you were taking. So their call is for the president to speak on this matter. You described it as emotional blackmail. Why?
Simply because the same group of CSOs practically bastardized the president.
Somebody is bringing something to me. What's the name of the lady?
Or as it were, calling upon us to withdraw our motion. They termed it as being interfering in the affairs of Parliament. Didn't you hear that? They criticized the president for interfering in the affairs of parliament. Parliament is supposed to be an independent organ of state. Members of parliament are supposed to be of independent mind and all that. And that instructing us, as it were, to discontinue our decision to have the OSP office repealed. It was interfering, was dictating to us, blah, blah, blah. That's every parliament, a deliberative chamber. Now, this matter is before the Supreme Court. It's sub judice.
Sub judice.
Sub judice.
That call for the president
a hallowed principle of law. Every parliament in the constitution is cautioning that where a matter is before a court of law, court of competent jurisdiction, don't tinker with it. Don't tackle it. Don't even touch it with a 10-foot pole. Every parliament, the constitution says, don't touch it with a 10-foot pole. Don't go near it. Parliament is even cautioning not to go near a matter that is a subject of litigation in our courts. CSOs are calling on the head of state to do what? To do a buzia?
Just to speak on
No,
it, just as
to
you
do
spoke.
a buzia? No court, no court. Because you see, the call that they've made is in the effect is actually in the converse. Because where a court makes a determination, we are all bound. So you cannot say that I am in agreement with the court. But always you have to be in agreement with the court. If you disagree, you appeal. If there are appellate processes, or you ask for a review, if the process is for a review of the court's decision, that's all you do. You say you agree with the court, but you as the court pleases, but you agree, and therefore, if the appellate process is depending on the stage of the litigation, which is being done as we speak. So the call rather on the president is to say that whatever the court will say, you will be in disagreement. That's what they're asking the president to say, because it's a matter of course for the president to say that we are in agreement with what the court has said, or we are bound by the court's decision. Or not say anything. That's a matter of course. So to ask the president to speak is to say that, or to suggest that whether the court decides in the favor of A or B, we will do what we have to do. So tomorrow they'll say that the court says the matter we should take left, and the president say no, I am in disagreement with the court, so we are taking right. That's what they're asking the president to do, to say that our decision of the court. You see, when Kissi goes to court and he loses, it's normal. You must fight for an appeal or go for a review of the court's decision. You don't rant in the media. He lost his Adapaz case. It was all over that. The judiciary is conspiring. He said all manner of things. Because he didn't prosecute that matter well. Procedural approach. With all the defense attorneys. You have to see me in this country 15 years ago when we were doing the Oyome cases. It's about procedure. Procedural. Look, the job of every criminal attorney is about procedure.
And procedures are the heart of.
Look, the principle of law is that where a law provides a procedure for a right to be exercised, it's only that procedure that will be followed. It's only that procedure. If you depart from that procedure, every criminal law attorney,
it invalidates the case.
And that's our joy. That's the joy of a criminal law practitioner. That's your joy. That's the beauty of. So anybody, every lawyer, who is the criminal law practitioner, is always on the lookout for procedure. Because as for the substantive law, that's why they brought your man. He's been charged. But you are looking for flaws. That is why you can actually question a charge and say that the charge sheet is bad for duplicity. Just procedure. Now, what is the issue? Bentel has said something, but I want to lay the records, bear everybody out. I brought the Hansard of Wednesday, 1st November 2017. Actually, were raised on the floor. But we disagree with Chairman Sabonsu and the Speaker. The House actually took a decision. The law as it is was actually what the House agreed upon. So, this is the trajectory. Now, if you read from when Chairman Sabonsu raised the matter,
which matter exactly?
Which is the issue of authorization, direct authorization, or all that. Look, the Honorable Haruna Idrisu made the point that we cannot come to Parliament and say that Parliament can enact a law and grant direct authorization to prosecute, to investigate and prosecute a matter to another entity without recourse to Article 88. That was the original terms of the bill that came to Parliament. All the stakeholder engagements, the import was that we want to establish a special office that will be independent of the Attorney General and all that. The report came, we debated the principle.
Can prosecute without AG's authorization.
Yes, all those ideas. These arguments were actually canvassed during the stakeholder engagements. The committee prepared, and I was such a formidable member of the committee. We went to the floor debate. When we got to consideration, it was Haruna Idrisu who said, no, please read Article 88 properly. This Parliament, if we proceed to enact this law, it will be shut down the next day after assent.
It's been 8 years.
Oh, no, he says, no, so you listen. So we cannot. And then when the debates progressed, we all realized that no, the interment of the bill cannot be carried through. We are running into a brick wall in Article 88. Even the bill, the memorandum is referenced it. So after all the talks, these two persons spoke. And this is the Hansard of 1st November 2017. So Dr. Aini had this to say. Mr. Speaker, it relates to the original rendition of the head note in clause 4. And because it is independent and stands in the name of the Honorable Minority Leader, we need to take it so that it will form part of clause 4 going forward. Then Che came in. Then all the talks continued. And Che had this to say. Mr. Speaker, I get it. Let's go on. Then the chairman said, so with your permission, if I may move the item numbered XVII, or I should take the two together, Mr. Speaker, you may do so. The amendment was carried. Dr. Aini came back and said, Mr. Speaker, for instance, the Attorney General could do so by a constitutional instrument. Now we are talking about the nature and the form of the authorization. By constitutional instrument or by legislative instrument, where it will spell out clearly what the jurisdiction of the Office of the Special Prosecutor is. This is because what we are doing here is to say that Parliament is by statute making the Attorney General authorize the Special Prosecutor, but she is the one who is delegating the authority, and there has to be a mode of delegation.
Pause there. For the sake of the public.
Yes.
Okay. Important things you said. He says Dr. Aini came in and said that, for instance, she could do so by constitutional instruments or by legislative instruments, which will spell out clearly what the jurisdiction of the Office of the Special Prosecutor is. And note that this is the Attorney General.
Yes.
Okay.
The current Attorney General.
No, the current Attorney General. But at the time, it was Madam Gloria Kufu.
Yes.
And it was said by the current Attorney General that she could do that by an ally.
Yes.
Note. Subsequently, she issued an ally.
No, the ally is, hold on. I brought the ally.
No, hold on. No, I'm making a fundamental point. Yes. That it was said by Dr. Ine that an airline will suffice.
So you let's
no. We are talking to the public.
Yes, let's be. The airlines are here.
You admit the point that Dr. Ine said an airline would be a useful thing to use,
made the
to
point.
authorize.
So we'll get there. You
made the point. Listen to you. I was going to tackle it. So, Mr. Speaker, that is the point I'm making. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, Speaker Okoye. He said, what kind of authorization are you anticipating again? The person has been established by an act of parliament, and you are going to ask the Attorney General to start authorizing, bringing in matters that lawyers describe as co-warranto. It will become a big issue by what warrant, by what authority.
Pause. I beg you. Yeah. Again, me and you, we are working on this, the public.
Yeah.
The speaker then, Speaker Okoye, is saying, there is a situation where an act of parliament is in pursuance of the last part of 88 being used to take the authority, not without the permission of the AG, but to encapsulate it in that act and then hand it to the OSP. And that it will not be the best if they didn't do it that way, because if they don't, then you have issues of co-warranto down the line.
Yes.
Good.
So
proceed.
So let us not create unnecessary problems.
Good.
If the special prosecutor is established to perform certain functions, are we intending somebody else to give him a warrant to start that which the Act of Parliament has given him or her to do?
Good.
Hold on. What authorization? Let us be careful so that we do not open unnecessary Pandora's box. This is because issues of co-warranto, lawyer, you know, they can be very long-winded.
Good.
Yes, Honorable Chairman, Honorable Boabin. Mr. Speaker, I wanted to react and add on to your erudite direction and emphasize that the authorization by the Attorney General is grounded in the Constitution. The Constitution says that the authorization is by a law passed by Parliament. It is this very law that we are passing which enables the Attorney General to authorize. With the permission of Mr. Speaker, if I may read Article 88.4, then please read. Mr. Speaker, it reads, all offences prosecuted in the name of the Republic of Ghana shall be at the suit of the Attorney General or any other person, and I quote with your permission. Then he also repeats. So it is the Attorney General who, from this particular law, she must give the authority in accordance with the law. So the law is now seeking to be given the authority instead of the Attorney General giving the authority. You do understand what he's saying? So that is where the problem is. Then Chairman Mr. Speaker, the law that we are crafting today is not being done at the instance of Parliament. Parliament is not on its own accord fashioning this law. This law is coming from the Attorney General in the nature of a bill. He or she, in this case, recognizing the import of Article 88, has appeared before us that the burden on her shoulders is enormous. So she wants to assign responsibility to an officer. So this comes at the behest of the AG, and somebody is saying no. Is it a shepherd somewhere who is, you know, this things we say them on the floor? But no, I want to give a certain history. So this house is only helping her to craft. I'll end. Fair. So essentially, you speak. Essentially, the point I'm making is that the position by Speaker Okoye and Chairman Sabusu to do a direct authorization by an act was
what you read is not a direct. Chairman was saying that the AG has come to give the authority through a law.
No, and I'm saying that all these positions
is not.
No, all these positions were disagreed with.
By who?
By the House. That is
why I'm going.
The law? No, that is why I'm going. So listen to me.
So what was the end objective?
So that is why. Can I please? Yes. I am telling you that the discussion, the position by some lawyers and some debaters that the parliament at the time agreed with Chairman and Speaker and passed a law that gave direct authorization by the enactment to the OSP is inaccurate. These positions were strong from the leader of government business, from the Speaker, but the House disagreed. That's where I'm going. So yeah, that's what I'm going. So Chase spoke for long because he was trying to convince all of us. So this house is only helping her to craft it in a mode that she requires.
I'm not reading everything. I just want how this ended because of
okay,
time.
so when we got, so Che finally said, Mr. Speaker, I implore you, having listened to both sides, to now put the question. This is because what we are drifting to, there's no longer any value addition with respect. So Mr. Speaker says, Chairman of the committee, your view. Then Chairman said, Mr. Speaker, I want us to proceed. Mr. Speaker, Honorable Chairman of the committee, could you please restate your amendments? Because it was his proposed amendments that generated this long debate.
Okay.
No? This mimics, hold on, this mimics Article 88.4. That before you do anything, you shall be authorized by the Attorney General.
Interpretation.
This is not interpretation. This is law. The law is subject to clause 4 of Article 88. The office of the OSP shall be authorized by the Attorney General.
It means it is. Present continuous.
So, what sort of English is that?
We didn't do English.
What sort of English is shall be authorized means it is authorized?
Yes.
Is that the language you are speaking? No, please. So let me conclude. So, Mr. Banda, so Mr. Speaker, I beg to move clause 4, sub-clause 2, delete and insert. So he restates it. Now, others are saying that Speaker directed that the drafters. What Speaker directed was this. Mr. Speaker, the end result of the proposed amendment is clearly stated. Mr. Speaker, it appears that we are done with the whole of clause 4. So Mr. Speaker says, Honorable Chairman of the committee, may I put the question on the entire clause if you have finished? Chairman, Mr. Speaker, we only want to do a little swapping by making subclause 2, subclause 1, and making subclause 1, subclause 2. So interpositioning, not redrafting.
Okay.
So, Speaker, that will be taken care of by the draft persons. After we have put the question on the entire clause, this juxtaposition is going to be taken care of by the. So we were done.
I see.
So Che's position that there should be a direct authorization by the enactment were all disagreed with. So what the House approved. So the question put an amendment agreed to from the chairman. Period. That is all you see in the law.
In this.
Now
this is.
Yes, this is all we approve in Parliament.
Section 4.2.
Yes.
Right.
Now hold on. How can Kofi say that shall be authorized by the Attorney General means it is authorized?
Yes.
And this is the I brought the two allies.
I see. We'll get into that.
Hold on. I brought the two allies.
I'll get into the allies. I'll get into the allies.
But you see, there's a lot of confusion. So let's use the records. Let's use the records
to go through the Hansard.
So let's use the records to correct it, please. I'm on the floor. Let me finish.
That's why I allowed you to.
You have your time.
But the time is not. Hold on. That's why I allowed you to go through the Hansard. What's the issue with that? No, I'm going to come to you.
He has hold on. He has referenced.
I'll come to you yes.
You see, he is in Parliament. They've had a chance to actually even
and because he's stuck through this process.
No, I'm saying that they've had the occasion to actually even just scrap the thing. So everything he's saying here is ending to that point. The point is that they want to scrap the thing. But we're saying
which point?
No, I'm saying that
all he has said indicates that what?
Yeah, I'm saying that. Their preference, everything is saying, their preference is that office really is a nuisance. They don't want to remove it. That's okay. If that's all you're saying, that's fine.
Leave him alone.
I am saying that. Was it not part of the group that wanted to extinguish the office?
You are introducing a different argument.
No, I'm just saying that. Your motive is what I'm reading. Please. It's okay. All right, I take that back.
Richard, don't do that.
You brought a bill, but you didn't want to extinguish it. That's okay.
Please.
But the point here is this.
We can debate that matter separately. That's not what we are debating.
I'm just saying it's part of your record. So I'm
just make a point.
Alfred, there is a certain interdependence between politics and law, where politics sets the agenda and the law provides the formal framework for that decision to be taken. So this matter is a political decision that was taken to provide for a certain office to deal with the problem we have as a society, which is corruption. So we must keep that in mind all the time. In arguing the law or the right for the office to achieve the intended objective, which is to fight corruption. Remember, Ghana is a state party to the UN's Convention Against Corruption. And that provision, Article 36 of that convention, requires that we set up a specialized office with the requisite power and autonomy to pursue corruption. So the Office of Special Prosecutor is actually in fulfillment of Article 36 of that convention. Mm-hmm. So we must know that it is not just something that somebody can decide to say, let's throw it away, let's put it here, let's put it over there. It's an essential part of our political evolutionary decision to make sure we deal with corruption. And the NDC were big on why we need to fight corruption when they were in opposition, and somehow they have become softies when they came into office. They are fighting corruption. The institutions that must fight corruption, the NDC is attacking it. And that's why my brother didn't want for me to say that they introduced a bill to extinguish the office. Mm. See, so what is the issue, really? Article 88 is clear. Mm. And I don't think that my brother would disagree that the power to prosecute is not delegable. It is delegable. If you look at Article 88,
it's clear.
Article 83 plus 88 plus 3 establishes the special prosecutor as the primary repository of prosecutorial power. But then
you mean the Attorney General?
The Attorney General, sorry.
Yes.
The Attorney General as a repository of all prosecutorial powers. Article 88 plus 3 says that. But then in 4, however, it provides the window for that power to be delegated.
That's it.
So, what is the issue? And it says that if you read it carefully, it's not by accident. You know, in laws, words are put there for purpose. It says that in accordance with any law. So, any law in this case now, it brings into frame the Special Prosecutors Act, which is Act 959, which is a law that is crafted in line with this to give.
So does the LI
I'm coming. The act for now.
Does it satisfy this particular aspect of 88?
So the process begins with 4, where the act has been passed.
It's an expression of this.
959 has been passed. And now when you go to that, I think, let me just read it. It says, Honorable Chief Majority Chief Whip was reading the thing. Go to 78 of the Special Prosecutors Act and the regulations. If you go all the way to K, and it talks about, let me just read the introduction. So the minister shall, they are talking about the LI. The minister shall, so this is where the LI was brought in to be able to authorize. It says 78 of the Act 959 says that the minister shall, within 90 days upon the assumption of office of the special prosecutor, in consultation with the board, by a legislative instrument, make recommendation. So it lists a lot of matters in terms of directing how the special prosecutor acts in that office. Okay, from A all the way. But I want to reference you to K, which then would imply the authorization, which says that K says provide generally for the effective implementation of the act. And the act, the objective of the act is to fight what? Corruption and corruption related acts. Okay, so this is the act. Then with that 78, you go to the LI. And the LI then tells you, okay, it's headline, like, in exercise of the power conferred on the minister responsible for justice by section 78 of the Office of Special Prosecutor Act 2017, these regulations are made this 23rd day of November 2018. You understand? So the action to authorize under 4 is being fulfilled. And all the conversation my brother referenced in the what's called in his readings goes to confirm that there was this understanding. Now it only shows me how diligent they were in debating the matter. Yes, but after the debate was concluded, the necessary steps were taken. So any authorization is inherent in the LI. The LI effectively authorizes the AG. And so there is no other thing. And I read section 11 of the LI 2374, which is on decision to prosecute. This is the LI. Okay, says that the special prosecutor or an authorized officer shall, considering the facts and evidence gathered from an investigation, take a decision whether or not to prosecute. This is the Attorney General authorizing by the provision Parliament passed. They agreed and passed, give the power to the Attorney General to issue this document, LI 2473, to operationalize the office.
Authorizes him to take a decision to prosecute.
So the authorization is inherent here. So what is it? What is the debate about?
So from the Constitution to a statute to an LI. Oh,
let him conclude.
You had a long time. Let me.
No, I didn't have a long time.
I have a very long time.
No, you are finished. He was
quoting a lot about
it. Show you where it shows on the authorization.
I just want to show you.
You haven't showed me anything.
You see, and this is why.
The answer. Where is it?
Gentlemen, hold on.
Where is it?
He won't see. He won't see. So the point is that
you are alluding to something that is not there.
We just read the thing.
It is not there.
If you crafted it, it doesn't mean we can't read it.
You are misreading the phrase.
My goodness.
You are misreading.
Give me 1 minute to do it.
No.
What is this?
Okay, you give 1 minute when they finish.
From your time.
Yeah, no problem.
See, give me 78. Give
me, I'm here. You finish.
Alfred, this is how laws are made. The Constitution is the overall law of the land.
Yeah.
Now, constitutions are very broad, like you saw here. Okay? Any law, any person, statutes give expression to the Constitution.
Sure.
So they draw from the Constitution and have a law, a statute. In that law, it says that that OSP office shall be deemed to. That deemed to is not there. So I even made a post about it. But the shall there is present and continuous. Now, let me make a point. And every lawyer knows this. A cardinal rule of interpretation is that you avoid an interpretation that leads to absurd outcomes. Okay? Here is the absurd outcome in this. The purpose of the OSP is to prosecute independently of the AG.
Yeah.
Any interpretation of the law that leads to the outcome that OSP will prosecute with the supervision and authority is absurd. And it is a cardinal rule in interpretation, as that you don't give any interpretation that leads to an absurd outcome. Now, after the statute, pursuant to the Constitution, you have an LI. An LI gives effect, directions to a statute. Okay? And over here, it is written. Where is it?
Which one?
The 78 I wanted. Where it says that the OSP will make the decision.
Yeah, right here.
Yeah, good. No. I'm looking for the LI. There's a place where it says that
11.
That's
right. Regulation 11.
That's circled right there.
Okay, good.
He crafted
I'm rushing.
So he will tell you.
You see, now hold on. Listen to me. This LI is a legislative instrument, and I need to make this point for education purposes. I beg.
Right.
You have an executive instrument. An executive instrument is an act of the president. It dies with the president. When you have a legislative instrument, it is pursuant to a law. A law is binding on everyone. It doesn't die with the president or the person who passed it. This is a legislative instrument pursuant to an act passed by parliament. So it is binding on the present AG and all future AGs. Now, you can change this by amending the statute. Yeah. All right? And this is what it says in 11. It says, the special prosecutor or an authorized officer, which means an officer authorized by the special prosecutor, shall, upon considering, that is the special prosecutor considering facts and evidence gathered from an investigation, he shall take a decision whether or not to prosecute. How is that difficult to understand? The special prosecutor shall take a decision. This is pursuant to the act, pursuant to the Constitution. Done.
So you see, so the point, the point is very clear. If the objective remains that we fight corruption, all of these things don't matter, because really, if the actions of the special prosecutor, subject to 88 and clause 4, where the powers of the Attorney General have been delegated, part of it have been delegated to the special prosecutor to independently prosecute, if that is not in debate, and the special prosecutor by his actions is not trying to supplant the office of the Attorney General or oust him, then there is no conflict at all. He should be allowed to prosecute his cases.
And the AG has collaborated with OSP.
In the Ken case. So really, where is this thing coming from?
Where is the problem?
Where is this? So my view is that the Supreme Court, who is now sitting on a matter in the review of this case before it with respect to the special prosecutor's power, whether or not it derives that from Attorney General, whether that should be removed and all of that stuff, should look at a functional interpretation of the law. And I think you said
prevent an absurdity.
Yes, and he said that to say that any interpretation that leads us to an end that doesn't contribute to the political objective of setting up that office is wrong. And so they should look at it. I don't see anywhere where the special prosecutor is impeding the work of the Attorney General.
They're actually collaborating.
He's actually helping, because the Attorney General, we have heard, is overwhelmed. And President Mahama was talking in the oral case where they have to get some independent or private. I'm saying that
of bringing in.
It's essential. The president doesn't speak in a vacuum. Perhaps there is evidence or there's plans already afoot to do something like that, which is well and good. But the point is that the Attorney General cannot do this alone. That is why the Constitution envisions and says that some of that powers could be given for others to do the job. Okay? If the the Attorney General feels that perhaps there's a case going on and they want to enter nullity process or whatever, it's still within his power, he can do that. But I'm saying that in enforcing the provision or the political decision to fight corruption, that must not be affected by these legal squabbles that people are engaged in, because the laws that they have passed, and he's demonstrated, it was integral part of all these things. The objective is not to affect the Attorney General. The objective is to help Ghanaians fight corruption. That one must remain the cardinal point in all these conversations, so that we don't get into reading books and laws and all of that to lose
an absurd interpretation.
Objective. That is why that office was created. And Ghanaians want corruption to be fought. And so if you make it about the law and injure that political objective of fighting corruption, what have you gained? What have you gained for the country? And so this whole business, Babada, you need to look beyond the laws and all of that and see the objective why the office was created.
Okay.
And Ghanaians will not forgive you if you get on this path of saying that you are going to, affect this office and the pursuit of fighting corruption. Ghanaians will not forgive you. And remember that your campaign in this country, some oral and all of these things that you talk about, now the time has come. But you no. You see,
Richard,
please.
Richard, I can do what you are doing. You have departed from the law and you are now talking something different.
I'm not sure that anybody made you a father of this program where you are telling people what to do. No, I take exception to what you're trying to do. So just hold on, please. You need to let him understand. Nobody made him a father of this program. So when he's talking, he must be mindful. I will withdraw. I will not. You can't do that.
Gentlemen.
No, Alfred, let him understand. I have indulged you.
Mr. Okansi.
Yeah.
What do you mean you have indulged?
I've indulged you. When I started speaking,
when I had my time, you interrupted.
I didn't interrupt you.
You interrupted. You were insisting that you wanted to speak.
You need to stop screaming. The point I am making to you is that
why you be uncouth?
Hold on.
On this program, we don't do that.
I know what you can do, but I'm just telling you. Just hold on, Alfred.
Please.
The point I am making, and I want to make for his awareness. This thing we are doing here, this is not a law court. This is not a law court. This is a political platform. So that point he made is uninformed to say that forget about politics, do law. This is not law. This is not law.
On your point.
What I'm telling you is that politics sets the agenda. And what is the agenda in this case? To fight corruption. So you can't come here and be reading law books and make it make this issue about law. It's not law. The law is done in the court. So go to court and litigate that matter. But here on the political platform, we do politics. And the agenda that was set by the country, led by His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, when a law the United Nations Convention Against Corruption, passed in 2003 and became operational in 2005. When that law was passed, we needed to have created a body specialized to achieve that end. That body was eventually created in 2017. That body is what you are seeking to extinguish. And we are saying that that objective remains relevant. You cannot do anything to jeopardize the pursuit, okay, of the people of Ghana to fight corruption. By the way, when you were campaigning, you were saying that corruption was costing this country in billions a year. So we are engaged in fighting corruption, and you sit here and bring documents and you are trying to make it about law. It is not law. If you want to do law, go to the court. Here is not the courtroom. Here is a political platform. So if you are not ready to talk about the politics of it, don't come here and be yelling at people and create impression. No, I've made my point. You're not
you're just repeating.
No, I'm not repeating myself.
So,
Alfred, listen.
I think you've established the point that you take it from the political perspective.
But that's what it ought to be. And this whole thing is talking about that we should let's do the law. That is from I find that he is the one rather.
So
if
you disagree.
Anybody has to withdraw anything, he ought to withdraw
disagree.
that.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Now, he also takes it from a different perspective. Doesn't mean that that's wrong. Mr. Bento also took it from a different perspective. That's the view. Okay, that's the divergence that this platform also encourages. I'm going to go for this quick break. When I'm back, Nelson Rosso, you have your take, and then Mr. Bento as well. But let me just remind you that the key point is proudly brought to you by Bank of Africa and also GASEM. Activate your dormant account with Bank of Africa. Enjoy our refreshed products and services, including our enhanced SME support facility, US dollar debit card, credit card, and more. You may also update your account at any Bank of Africa branch with your Ghana card. Kindly reach our call center on 0302 429 333, 0302 496 690, or chat Fafa at www.boaghana.com for support or inquiries. Bank of Africa, as strong as a group, as close as a partner. And GASEM, also giving us strong support on the key point, is the nation builder. Now also, the University of the Gold Coast, whether you are aiming for a specialist MBA in marketing, communications, operations and supply chain, human resource management, finance, entrepreneurship and innovation, or business intelligence or analytics, or you want to advance through our dual MBA or chartered MBA, that's manager MBA, University of the Gold Coast gives you options that match your vision. And if your next step is an MSc International Relations, Communications and International Marketing, International Law and Security and Diplomacy, Accounting and Finance or Human Resource Management, an LLM International Law, Security and Diplomacy, or an MA in Biblical Studies and Practical Theology, the pathway is open. April admissions are open. Apply today. Your dream deserves structure. Your future deserves strategy. And that's what University of Gold Coast is giving you. Give them a call on these two numbers. Tell them you heard me talk about it on the key point, and then they would take care of you in a special way. 054-288-9045, 054-288-9045, or 0263-888-555, 0263-888-555. University of Gold Coast, building leaders for the nations. We'll be back shortly after this quick break. Stay with us.
In a world where love was found and hearts were broken, they came with hope, they left with memories. Some found love, others found lessons. But what happens when the story isn't over? This season, the stage reopens, not for a second chance, but for the truth. Secrets will be revealed, and emotions, they won't be hidden this time. In this reunion, closure is not guaranteed. Join us on Sunday, 26th April, 8 p.m. at TV3 premises, Studio B. Audience must be seated at 7 p.m.
Date Rush Season 15 shows every Sunday at 8 p.m. on TV3.
Brought to you by Enapa Foods, Heaven Insecticide Spray and Coil,
Obwasibites numna wumwankasa.
Gold Board Jewelry.
My life insurance.
In a world where love was found and hearts were broken, they came with hope, they left with memories. Some found love, others found lessons. But what happens when the story isn't over? This season, the stage reopens, not for a second chance, but for the truth. Secrets will be revealed, and emotions, they won't be hidden this time. In this reunion, closure is not guaranteed. Join us on Sunday, 26th April, 8 p.m. at TV3 premises, Studio B. Audience must be seated at 7 p.m.
Date Rush Season 15 shows every Sunday at 8 p.m. on TV.
where love was found and hearts were broken, they came with hope, they left with memories. Some found love, others found lessons. But what happens when the story isn't over? This season, the stage reopens, not for a second chance, but for the truth. Secrets will be revealed, and emotions, they won't be hidden this time. In this reunion, closure is not guaranteed. Join us on Sunday, 26th April, 8 p.m. at TV3 premises, Studio B. Audience must be seated at 7 p.m.
Date Rush Season 15 shows every Sunday at 8 p.m. on TV3.
Brought to you by Enapa Foods, Heaven Insecticide Spray and Coil.
Obuasibites, Numna Wumwangasa.
Gold Board Jewelry.
My Life Insurance.
Sim.
Welcome back to Key Point on TV3. We're live on the Voice of London radio in the heart of the City of London and Voice of London television as well. Professor Stephen Kwaku Asare, good morning. Thank you so much for the feedback, and also, in fact, he says he's been following the conversation. He says to Nelson Rossendafempo, shall be authorized is not the same as authorized, or it's one of them as is authorized. He says shall be authorized is not the same as is authorized. Yeah. That's the, he just wanted to complement the point you're making. Is it ever brought on this particular issue earlier, the position that you are taking? Yeah. And does the LI in itself, as it were, settle this matter so that we really didn't have to go on this path?
That's my view.
Council.
Okay. Now, you see, Richie says that the politics sets the tone, and the law follows. But if you get the law wrong, there's nothing politics can do about it. They must follow the law. The intention was truly that to give the office a direct authorization. This debate, even at the committee level, we traveled. We were part of a team that we went to Canada. Others went to Kenya, others went to Malaysia, and then I think US or UK. The committee was divided into about 3 groups. We brought reports. When we came to the second reading, the policy debate, all this, but eventually, there's no way. You see, the constitutional framework is the ground norm. You can't do anything to depart from that. So when the leader of government business thought that we could do directly, even speaker thought that if we don't do it directly, tomorrow they'll be asking go around. All those things came up. But the House came to his officer. In section 81 of the law, which is the transitional provisions. This was all we did. 81.1. The Attorney General may, on the coming into force of this act, authorize the office of the special prosecutor.
So the authorization has been consistent.
Yes, consistently used throughout. Let me take it again. May, on the coming into force of this, let me leave it because that's a modifier. The Attorney General may authorize the office of the special prosecutor to handle any investigation or prosecution in relation to corruption and corruption-related offense being handled by IOCO, being handled by the prosecutions division of the AG's own office, by public prosecutors appointed under section 50, by public prosecutors appointed under section 56 of the Act 36 of the Act 30. And any other offenses of and all those category of people. So we have been very particular because you see, he could have gone to court and said, no, the law that we passed is inconsistent with Article 88 and therefore it should be shut down. Then that effort would have been shut down.
So why did Parliament go ahead with this then?
Sorry?
Why did Parliament go ahead with all of these issues that came up during the debate to pass the bill?
But the law is to make the OSP request for authorization from the Attorney General. That has been the issue. Authorization from the Attorney General. That has been the issue. You see, the fact that nobody raised it with Martin Amidu doesn't mean it cannot be raised. It's about which authority for instance, in the law. It's about which, for instance, in the law, to come to my house and search my premises, which they are power to do, you must be authorized by the OSP as the figurehead, as an employee of the OSP's office. For you to come and search me, the law says OSP must authorize you. So if I wake up in the morning and come to my gate, you are an employee of the OSP, okay, you are welcome. We are here to search your premises. That's okay. But have you been unauthorized by the OSP? You should be able to produce an authorization from the SP or OSP. That's how the law is. Everything, before you act, there's some form of authorization.
I see.
Now, if you check, we've used an authorized officer, authorization every step of the way. Even the forms that are filled, it's an authorized officer.
So once authorized, can the AG withdraw the authorization or issue a
No, that is where we bring in the independence. You see, the Article 8 is a mandatory duty on the AG. It's a mandatory duty. It's not, the AG doesn't have
So what instrument does he use? A letter, EI, LI, what?
No, it can just be a letter.
Just a letter?
Yes, just a letter.
Pursuant to this
A letter of authorization.
Just a letter. So you see, because the authorization will be formal.
And if you authorize, you can withdraw. You know that?
No. Act 30 says in section 56, we give we provide procedure where the AG will appoint public prosecutors. So we indicated that he could use EIs to do that. He won't come to Parliament. We'll just issue the EI and indicate the category of people. We considered all that. But in this law, we are saying that the mandate under 88 is such that the Attorney General has no discretion to exercise.
So I want your record for clarity.
Yes.
So you mean all that has to be done is for AG to issue a letter saying,
yes,
and that once,
yes,
I beg you,
yes,
for the public,
yes,
that once he has issued that letter, yes, to OSP, yes, he cannot withdraw it anymore.
He cannot withdraw. There's no reversal.
Yes. He cannot do a nolle prosequi. He cannot advise on a case that OSP is doing.
Now,
is that so?
Yes, because the OSP is independent. Once the authorization is given, you can't interfere.
What he's just said,
you see,
okay,
yeah.
Honestly, that is not what I see. But if that is true, then that's what the LI did.
Yes.
But because the LI is strong. But if that is true, if you convince, wait.
Yeah, yeah.
Look, we are on public.
Yes, we are on public.
So the view that you don't, then
the LI is stronger than the letter. But I'm saying I'm prepared to concede.
Okay.
But he is the one saying so here. Trust me, I've heard other things from other places. Now, so if he's on record saying so, I am saying also here that to that extent I will concede. Tomorrow,
then he should issue a letter.
He should issue the letter. Because again, there is a national policy.
I agree.
Okay, there is no impediment in the way of the AG. The AG has collaborated and is working with them even on the Ken case and other cases. Given the policy, given the fact that as a country this is where we want to go, the AG does not need to wait to be requested or asked or whatever.
Or wait for
issue the letter.
Supreme Court to
So let me read.
So wait for the Supreme Court to go.
So you know what? Let me say this. The AG can suo motu issue the authorization without prompting.
Thank you.
The OSP too can prompt the AG to issue. Do you know why?
I agree. I agree with you.
If you read Article 88(2), the Attorney General shall discharge such other duties of a legal nature as may be referred or assigned to him by the President or imposed on him by this Constitution or any other law.
So the President can even tell him to issue it.
Thank you.
So Nelson, make a call now. That
Thank you.
To resolve all the confusion in our courts and in the Supreme Court and the confusion in the minds of people, okay, as a matter of policy, as a matter to deal with this corruption thing, the AG should issue the letter Monday.
I have said it 3 days ago on Joy. I'm saying that to reduce all this, or to earn all this Ola value, I'll urge my Attorney General to proceed to issue the authorization.
I totally agree with you. Let's proceed on that.
Yes, because that's what the law says.
I mean, so this is all the
that's what the law says.
Not all you guys have this position.
No. I've said it already.
Then you are not
go ahead and issue the authorization.
That's it. That's
so that subsequently,
why are we stressing?
Yes.
So now you agree.
The law, you see,
on this
the law imposes
the absurdity.
Yes, the law imposes the duty both ways. That upon request it will be issued,
or also,
but under Article 88,
by the President.
Under Article 88, in fact, if anybody is ambitious, if anybody is ambitious, the person can proceed under 88(2).
So this is 88(2).
That is mandamus.
The Attorney General shall discharge such other duties of a legal nature
referred
as may be referred or assigned to him by the President or imposed on him by this Constitution
or any other law.
And the
OSP law says that the Attorney General shall authorize the OSP to initiate and prosecute cases.
No, I agree with this. This solves the problem.
This is what we did.
Okay, so
this is what, because that's the derivative power.
Okay, so you are saying that the LI does not meet that standard. You
see, the LI is sufficient.
It's not sufficient.
Because when you are given the authorization to proceed, when you investigate, you need to make decisions.
So you stop at the point.
And the LI says,
you need to. No. Before you prosecute, when the authorization comes to the office, and you begin your work.
Not all investigations lead to prosecution.
Yes. So you make decisions. So the LI says to make that decisions, Regulation 11 says when you investigate, make the decision.
All right.
Made the decision.
To prosecute, you need authorization.
The authorization comes with everything.
One authorization.
You see, that is what the suspect is in court saying. That once you can show me that the AG has given you go ahead.
So Kofi Asare of Africa Education Watch says
the matter is as simple as
that. Very simple.
Okay.
Honestly,
Kofi Asare Africa Education Watch says the question is why hasn't the AG issued the authorization?
Yes. So we can ask that question.
Yes.
We can also ask why hasn't Kisi requested for the authorization?
Yes.
But I see your point.
Yes. That clause 2 puts a burden on the Attorney General.
Yes, I agree. So if anybody triggers 88(2) in a mandamus application,
he's obliged to do it.
Yes.
If the AG will not go and say the act itself was not constitutional, because that argument is being made.
Yes, but I told him that I disagree with him.
I agree. You have repaired the matter.
No.
Well, now
you see, my issue.
But would they agree with you? That's the point.
So. But that's the law. You see, these things, when the law is straight, it's straight.
Okay.
I hope everybody thinks the way you think.
Look,
because this
my issue with the OSP, my issue with the OSP is that is guzzling money. We are not getting value for money.
What about Yoko?
Well, we can discuss it.
Yeah.
Because look, my expectation is that as we speak, Kisi has just about 9 lawyers. They have a lot of administrative staffers, but the lawyers who do the prosecution, they're inadequate.
Okay.
We have
all of these reforms have to take place.
We have
That's a management thing.
And it's separate from
yes. No, but it's part of the value for money. We say open regional offices so that you can have your, like an octopus, you can have your presence in the region. You see, part of the OSP office is also to prevent.
Okay.
It's a deterrence factor.
Yes, when people know that you are very closer to them.
Right.
Look at the Auditor General reports.
Yeah.
I said that is his folder. That is his primary folder.
It should go straight from Public Accounts Committee straight.
Prosecute the people.
Yeah.
So be in the regions, be in the districts, because that is where the leakages
takes place. Okay. Thank you, gentlemen.
But you are
Thank you very much.
cocoon in the center.
Now,
far away from the people.
Convince the people about this. I'm with you.
Gentlemen, I have to give you something before we go.
It solves everything.
And so, on behalf of Bank of Africa, so there are a few gifts
I hope it's money
to you. I don't know what's in there,
yeah.
but Bank of Africa
If
says,
a fisherman is coming to give you a gift, it has to be fish.
Yes,
So,
thank you very
so
much.
it has to be what goes to the bank.
Somebody is going to give you a
Yes, it's for Martin to do as well. So thank
please,
you.
please,
This is
let's
from Bank
disclose
of
before they
Africa
come and
to
tell you they give you a bag of money.
Yes.
Full disclosure.
But what if you
There are a lot
reject
of
it?
things in there.
Money-
Thank you very much. So Bank of Africa, thank you. Thank you. Roberto, thank you. Thank you.
In a world where love was found and hearts were broken, they came with hope, they left with memories. Some found love, others found lessons. But what happens when the story isn't over? This season, the stage reopens, not for a second chance, but for the truth. Secrets will be revealed, and emotions, they won't be hidden this time. In this reunion, closure is not guaranteed. Join us on Sunday, 26th April, 8 p.m. at TV3 premises, Studio B. Audience must be seated at 7 p.m.
Date Rush Season 15 shows every Sunday at 8 p.m. on TV3.
Brought to you by Enapa Foods, Heaven Insecticide Spray and Coil.
Obuasi Bitters, Numna Wumwankasa.
Gold Board Jewelry.
My Life Insurance.
In a world where love was found and hearts were broken, they came with hope, they left with memories. Some found love, others found lessons. But what happens when the story isn't over? This season, the stage reopens, not for a second chance, but for the truth. Secrets will be revealed, and emotions, they won't be hidden this time. In this reunion, closure is not guaranteed. Join us on Sunday, 26th April.
After weeks of fun, laughter, and amazing performances, 5 incredible stars have made it to the grand finale of Talent Season 17. Queen Dessa, the little queen with the golden voice that melts hearts every time she sings.
Now that I can't sleep, walk her away. Those who can relate.
DJ Zim, the young master of turntables, bringing beats that make everyone move and groove.
How many times did they write to me? Energy.
To Alicia, a powerful young voice using beautiful words to tell stories that touch our hearts.
The flash of mighty, the swing in my waist.
Eno the poet, bold, confident, and full of wisdom, speaking truth and inspiration beyond these years.
But I still feel the weight of her absence.
Jasper Blue, full of energy and magic, lighting up the stage with jaw-dropping dance moves. These amazing kids have given it their all, and now it comes down to one unforgettable night. Join us at the National Theatre on April 26th at 3 p.m. Tickets are just 50 Ghana cedis, available at the TV3 premises. You can also vote by dialing *713*13# or download the MG Reality app to vote.
Talented Kids Season 17. Powered by Indomie. Tastes great.
Sponsored by Flora Tissues, Top Choco,
Gino Jollof Mix,
Didi Shito,
Fratelli Calipo,
Nero Prime Water,
Coco Plus, CTIW Foundation,
Cal Kids Toothpaste.
In a world full of noise, clarity matters. Stories shape us, ideas challenge us. An honest dialogue moves us forward. This is a space for depth, where voices are heard and perspectives matter. Conversations with Dr. Abnanya Kumasumeni, coming soon on TV3.
TV3, first in news.
After weeks of fun, laughter, and amazing performances, 5 incredible stars have made it to the grand finale of Talented Kids Season 17. Queen Dessa, the little queen with the golden voice that melts hearts every time she sings.
Now that I can't sleep, walk her away. Those who can relate.
DJ Zim, the young master of the turntables, bringing beats that make everyone move and groove.
How many times did they write to me?
To Alicia, a powerful young voice using beautiful words to tell stories that touch our hearts.
The flash of mighty. The swing in my waist.
Eno the poet, bold, confident, and full of wisdom, speaking truth and inspiration beyond these years.
But I still feel the weight of her absence.
Jasper Blue, full of energy and magic, lighting up the stage with jaw-dropping dance moves. These amazing kids have given it their all, and now it comes down to one unforgettable night. Join us at the National Theatre on April 26th at 3 p.m. Tickets are just 50 Ghana cedis, available at the TV3 premises. You can also vote by dialing *713*13# or download the MG Reality app to vote.
Talented Kids Season 17. Powered by Indomie. Tastes great.
Sponsored by Flora Tissues, Top Choco.
Fix your own countries. Now we're making it very clear to you guys. Utitina, we don't want you here. We want you to fix your countries. Now you came here with a traveling document. You came with a passport. You know that you are a visitor, but now you decided to come and integrate in our communities. You know very well that what you have done is wrong.
How many children do you have here?
We can come to Ghana and do what you're doing. Passport. Now you are carrying a bucket. It's 11 a.m. You are supposed to be fighting the government of Ghana there to ensure that they are getting things right.
No, there's no fight in Ghana. You must fight once a day.
Where's your papers?
This is just a fraction of the latest xenophobic attacks on foreigners, some African nationals living in South Africa, specifically Durban, and that's where we've seen records of a number of these cases of attacks on African nationals living there. This has become a perennial affair since 2008, the last time or the first time an attack of this nature was recorded. These people who are behind it have been growing in confidence, and they have been expanding in influence. And that's why this is a major issue, because since 2008, we've had a number of Ghanaians involved or being victims of this particular xenophobic attacks. Well, there appears to be some official condemnation of it, because yesterday the president of South Africa spoke about this, condemning this, and then also the South African police This has been consistent. Every year they do this. But every other year, the confidence among these persons who perpetrate this crime continues to increase. So what has to be done differently? Beyond the talk, beyond the apology. The Foreign Affairs Minister, Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa, was very strong in his words a couple of days ago in condemning this. But then there have been calls for not just Ghana to fight this alone, but join hands and strengths with other African countries whose citizens have been victims of this particular xenophobic attacks. Well, we will have a conversation this morning on this particular issue, and then also the matters related to what happens next after the United Nations granted these reparations. And indeed, historic diplomacy victory for Ghana exactly a month ago on March 25th. What happens next? The Foreign Affairs Minister, Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa, is my guest later this morning. He's going to be joining us. We'll have an expansive conversation. You see, the lady we showed on the screen, that's Jacinta Zuma. She leads this group of locals who are going around. This is her. She spoke to us exclusively yesterday. Okay, when we advertised that we're going to have this conversation, some persons connected to her reached out to us, and we had a conversation with her. She's actually justifying what they did. The gentleman you see there is a Ghanaian. We'll have a conversation on this matter this morning. Stay with us here on The Key Point. Also, later today, some 12 civil society organizations have joined hands and strength together to join and support the Office of the Special Prosecutor in this case, questioning the constitutionality of this particular office at the Supreme Court. We'll be telling you because this week, at least 2 cases have had to either be adjourned or put on hold because the lawyers for the accused persons standing trial in these cases have referenced the High Court's ruling regarding the prosecutorial powers of the Office of Special Prosecutor. So they are awaiting the outcome of the Supreme Court regarding this case, Noah Adamte's case. So we would have a conversation this morning as to how this will play out, especially taking into consideration the fact that it is the office that is under scrutiny now in terms of its prosecutorial powers, not the person. The Constitutional Review Committee made recommendations as to what can be done to address this situation, which we all knew. In fact, the members of Parliament knew from the get-go when they were having a debate on setting up this particular office. Well, one individual who's a member of Parliament and Majority Chief Whip attempted to, together with the Majority Leader, get a bill that would have dealt with this office in its entirety. The President appealed to them and they stepped down. He will be joining us. Nelson Roxon Dapiamekbo will have Kofi Bentil and Martin Pebu, of course, and then also Richard Ahiagba and Mariada will all be joining us for the next part of the conversation. But this morning, the economy has seen appreciable improvement, at least in terms of the macroeconomic indicators and how it has trickled down to the real sector of the economy, right at least from March 2025, when we saw the improvement in the one indicator, which is the currency. Consistently, the cedi has improved in its strength and performance against the major trading currencies. And we have seen that serve as some cushioning of strength with what is happening now on the international market regarding this geopolitics and the conflict between the United States, Iran, and Israel. It is the currency that is a major differentiator in ensuring that we do not bear the full brunt of this impact in the fuel prices at the pumps. The Bank of Ghana has to answer the question of what happens next. What's the outlook for the year 2026? How do we sustain these gains in the year 2026? That's going to be our conversation right now. But before I welcome my guests, Professor Ebo Texon, to join me right now, let's hear from the governor of the central bank, Dr. Johnson Ishema, who spoke earlier and gave an indication of the kind of thinking that goes on at the central bank and given an outlook for the year 2026 with respect to policy interventions and sustaining the gains that we have made. Take a look.
Our decisions are data-driven and forward-looking. We do not respond to pressure. We do not respond to speculation, and we do not respond to sentiments. We respond to evidence. We respond to risks, and we respond to the medium-term outlook for price and financial stability. Second, we prioritize stability over speed. In rebuilding credibility and restoring order, quick fixes in many cases are really durable. Our focus has been on policies that can be sustained even when they are uncomfortable in the short term. Third, we operate an institution not as individuals. Central banking is collective. It is disciplined work, and decisions are taken through established frameworks, informed by analysis, debates, and yes, we do have lots of debates in-house, as well as professional judgment. These principles, their benefits are really immediate, what we call policy lags. We respond to the medium-term outlook for price and financial stability. Second, we prioritize stability over speed. In rebuilding credibility and restoring order, quick fixes in many cases are really durable. Our focus has been on policies that can be sustained even when they are uncomfortable in the short term. Third, we operate an institution not as individuals. Central banking is collective. It is disciplined work.
What of the governor of the central bank there, talking about the kind of thinking that goes on, and then also the response that they give, not to emotions or speculations, but to evidence and to facts. This is the outlook, at least in terms of the indicators right from 2024. Inflation of 23.8%, far above the target within that particular year. And then we saw the lending rates as 30%. That was a conservative percentage that we're looking at. But fast forward, a number of things have happened, and we're going to put that on the screen right now. And we're still looking at how the situation was, or the picture was, for getting into the last quarter of 2024. The economy was emerging from one of the most challenging periods that we saw. One, at least, the gross international reserves, that was about 4 months of import cover at the time. We'll be finding out what the situation is now when it comes to gross international reserves and the plan to increase gross international reserves this morning. So stay with us. And then also the matter of public debt. Public debt was a little over almost 62%, as we saw into the end of 2024. And then fiscal deficit was a big issue as well. And in fact, going forward, we saw what the central bank itself did, the impact that this had on the central bank. And this was a big conversation here on Key Point about the haircut that it had to take. In fact, to the extent that the central bank at some point needed some bailout in itself. I mean, thinking about the lender of last resort needing a bailout to survive. That was a big issue. Then we also had to take haircuts with this mark-to-market valuation as a people. That also affected investor confidence. And now we've seen the improvement over time, consistently with short-term dated instruments being oversubscribed. And that's why I give the confidence to government to issue these 7-year bonds. Then excess liquidity as well, which weakened the policy transmission. Now, this excess liquidity, the Bank of Ghana over the period has decided to now mop up excess liquidity. We understand the cost to it because it's not for free, even though it is supposed to solve a problem. Just last week, there was a report of some millions of Ghana cedis being mopped up, the excess liquidity that's been mopped up. Exactly what impact does it have? And what is the thinking going forward? The Bank of Ghana intervened in the forex market in the year 2025, almost $10 billion. We understand that this year, there's some $1 billion that has been earmarked. How is it going to be in terms of ensuring that other sectors of the economy is improved to sustain the gains that the cedi has made? Those who have raised concerns about the rapid rise in the strength and also the impact of the cedi against the major trading currency are talking about the other sectors of the economy to improve, to sustain the gains that the cedi has made. We'll have a conversation this morning. What the thinking of the central bank is. 2025, we ended the year with 5.4% inflation rate. Inflation has reduced consistently over time till this moment that we're talking about, that's 3%. Debt, public debt at least, stands at 45.3%. Last week, we heard from the IMF projecting that we would exceed 50% in terms of debt to GDP. What is the central bank doing or thinking to ensure that we're in a good place at the end of the year? And that's why I have with me in studio Professor Ebo Texin is an associate professor of economics at the University of Ghana, one-time lecturer of mine, and an external member of the Monetary Policy Committee of the Bank of Ghana. He's a chief economist of the Africa Continental Free Trade Area Policy Network, and many other things that he's done in contributing to the development of this country. Prof, good morning.
Good morning, Alfred.
It's good to see you. It's been a while.
Yes. Good morning.
Thank you for making the time to join us this morning. First of all, I mean, I just ran through the picture of what existed in 2024, 2025, how we ended the economy with, and then what the situation is, at least at the end of the first quarter of this year. But 2025 was both a challenging one and one of a turnaround for you. But it didn't come for free. It was quite costly, is it not?
Of course. I mean, economic policies that are pursued to the benefit of the country come at a cost. And so we need to, when we discuss the improvements in the macro indicators, also need to talk about at what cost has it come to the nation. And so we should always have a discussion relative to the benefits and the cost. I mean, because whoever pursues the economic policy does so with some cost. And for the central bank, if you let me put on record, I'm not speaking here for the central bank. Right. I'm an economist. I do work in that area. Fortunately, I was asked to join the MPC and
the Monetary Policy
Committee as an external member. So I have some experience with monetary policy, but I speak here as an academic and as an economist. So I'm not here to communicate for the central bank. They have their own communication network. I mean, but the point I was making was that every economic policy comes at a cost. You can't do economic policy and not incur a cost. Now, if you look at the central bank's mandate, their primary mandate is to ensure price stability. And price stability, at times, the policy interventions that have to be pursued to maintain that stability comes at a cost. But of course, the bigger cost of inflation is something that every economy has to grapple with. The central banks, almost all central banks globally, has price stability as the main mandate. I mean, even though others have dual mandates, but price stability is always the case. Because when inflation is high, it distorts everything in the economy.
Absolutely.
Consumers are worse off. Businesses cannot plan. The economy itself is not stable. And when the economy is not stable, you cannot attract direct investment, foreign direct investment, to generate the jobs that you need for an economy that has quite a substantial number of young men and women who need jobs. And so one thing that the Central Bank of Ghana has done ever since I joined was to try as much as possible. And for the records, I joined at a time when Ghana was at its peak in terms of the turbulence in 2022. I think somewhere in May 2022. And at that time, we know what was happening in the economy. I mean, for instance, inflation by end of 2022 had peaked to 54%, and quite high. And interest rates were above 30%.
I see. So what do you say if you say you joined as the external member of the Monetary Policy Committee? So right from 2022 to now, so you've lived through the period of the crisis situation,
yes,
and the recovery period.
Precisely.
Okay.
Precisely.
Right.
So I have some experiences that I was part of the monetary policy decisions. Some of the time, the decisions were very difficult decisions that we had to make, given the data. And everything the central bank does is data-driven. Given the data and the presentations that are made by staff to the monetary policy committee members,
I see.
When we have to make a decision. And at times the decisions were very difficult, but we had a clear focus of maintaining price stability. So if you look at what has happened over time, up to now, we've tried as much as possible to use the monetary policy rates, transmit to the market, and also to assure economic agents that we are the front of fighting inflation that was there. And you know, the inflation was a lot of other factors that had happened over time.
Over 50% inflation rate at some point that way. But you've been pursuing this inflation targeting policy for the period that you referenced to now. But then again, there was that concern of the nexus between that policy and what was actually happening on the market. So what was different then and what's different now that we're seeing a direct impact of this policy on the market?
Yes. So remember the COVID happened. The government made some interventions. Fiscal spending went out of the roof, and therefore it transmitted to a high inflation environment because there was a lot that was pumped into the economy.
Right.
And so it generated that high inflation environment. And so when inflation hit 54 and thereabouts, the central bank at that time was trying to get their hands on. Then we also had the Russia-Ukraine war that came in with its own dynamics. But what has happened, especially relative to 2025 from 2024, has been the fact that we've been able to stabilize the cedi, which is very important. And over the years since 2022, the central bank has conducted open market operations to take out the excess liquidity in the system, right? And that has come at a good time when the cedi was also being stabilized. I mean, if you look at 2023, 2024, we had a depreciation of almost 19% every year.
Yes.
And then with that fast depreciation in 2025, because of some of the efforts at reforming the foreign exchange market, and also the fact that Ghana was going through a domestic gold purchase program that was allowing the central bank to also build part of its reserves in gold and improving its reserve buffers. The signal to the markets, the foreign exchange market, saw a situation where the currency began to appreciate. But the appreciation of the currency, its impact on inflation was going to decline because there's imported inflation because we depend on imported goods. And so the stability of the cedi in 2025 was a game changer that ensured that while the central bank was committed to its open market operations, the exchange rate stability, the fiscal policy reforms in 2025, right, and the gold purchase program delivered the stability that we needed in an environment where monetary policy was going to be able to tone down inflation expectations. And therefore, once inflation began to decline, don't forget that food prices also declined because of the good harvest. And whilst food inflation was declining, and non-food inflation was declining, and our policy was having its desired impact. We saw inflation beginning to decline. I mean, we knew it was somewhere above 23%, December 2024, but then it gradually began to decline. And for 15 months, inflation has declined as a result of the central bank's policy intervention to take off liquidity of the market, and also other enabling factors like the stability in the exchange rates, the appreciation, the building of reserve buffers. That was sending a signal to the market that.
So what's the current gross international reserve? Because
the gross international reserve currently is about almost 6 months of import cover from the 2.7 that we were somewhere in earlier periods, and that's about 14.5 billion.
So what this means is that if we are shut out of the world, we can survive with what we have for 6 months.
Yes, 6 months, coming from 2.7 months, some time past during the crisis period. And when the reserve buffers are that comfortable, I mean, you know, the standard for for most countries, the standard threshold is to obtain at least 3 months of import cover. So to have almost 6 months of import cover is something that is relatively something that we need to talk about.
And this ties into what the finance ministry intends to do and together with you, to improve.
With the central bank, not me.
No, I'm sorry, I'm talking about the central bank. I mean, in this instance, okay, with the central bank.
Precisely.
To improve on the reserves of 8 months with the gun wrap.
Yes.
And then by end of 2028, 15 months.
Yes.
From where you sit as an academic, is it possible?
It's possible, but you see, we need to get to a point where the stability that we have maintained as of now is resilient, because the global economic shocks will always come in.
True.
I mean, by the beginning of 2026, we didn't foresee this war in the Middle East. I mean, and therefore, if we had projections, for instance, in the government budget framework, the price of oil imports was almost $72 or $75, but now it's almost 100. So you see that we never foresaw that happening, but the war happened. And so when you have enough reserve buffers, you are able to absorb the shock that comes from the external sector.
Sure.
And you could see that now Ghana has gotten to the point that even with this increase in oil prices, the exchange rate is relatively stable. There's enough, forex in the market for the banks to give out. Businesses are not hoarding forex. So that confidence in the stability is also playing a part in the transmission of the higher oil prices to the domestic market, apart from the government deciding that it was going to reduce the marginals in respect to oil pricing.
With the interventions that we saw.
But you see, the stability in the economy, right, that has been as a result of the tight monetary policy stance and the fiscal reforms that have come on board, is what has built that resilience now. In the past, we would have seen an increase in oil prices, would have seen some inflation impact.
But Ghana cannot afford a dual commodity shock, is it not? Because we saw what happened last year with cocoa, and it's the situation hasn't improved as yet as we speak. And then we have some projections as well for gold, because gold saw an appreciable rise in its price on the world market, an ounce of gold on the world market, considerably for the year 2025. That's how come we raked in so much revenue. In fact, the anchor of our rebound in 2025 was on the revenues that we got from the export of gold, is it not?
Yes, precisely.
Now we've seen the price of gold, at least for the last 2-3 months, reduce a bit, tumble a bit, and that created some concerns. It's not one that we can afford to take, is it not? The shock, the dual shock, if this gold situation continues, and what happened to cocoa as well.
We shouldn't expect the gold situation to continue, because I mean, in the midst of global war, I mean, in the Middle East, so it becomes global because it affects everyone. I mean, investors move into safe havens, and gold is a safe haven, so we should expect the gold prices to decline relatively soon. What is important is the fact that the war and the oil prices will have an impact on our balance of trade, because our imports of oil would increase. The good thing that is happening is that the gold prices have not dropped significantly for us to have that dual impact on the balance of trade, right? And so gold prices are still relatively high, right? And therefore they will mitigate the impact of the increase in the oil prices in our imports, so that we should still see a balance of trade which is a surplus, right? Like we've seen in the past, and which in 2025 was at its peak.
Yes.
Right. So that dual impact is not visible now because gold prices are holding at a higher price, which is okay. And we should expect that to fall anytime soon.
And it is because of this revenue we got from the export of gold, obviously through the collaboration between the Bank of Ghana and Gold Board.
Gold Board, yes, precisely.
That gave the Bank of Ghana enough liquidity to be able to play your role in the open market operations. I'm talking about the impact of your interventions on the forex market.
Yes.
So that in the year 2025 we saw a cumulative influence or impact of about 10 billion.
Yes.
Right? The Bank of Ghana intervened in the forex market with about $10 billion.
Yes.
That played a significant role in strengthening the city, right?
Precisely, yes.
How's the outlook like for 2026? Are you going to continue intervening in the forex market with this much money? Or, as the IMF recommended, that you should reduce your footprints in the forex market?
So, like I said, I'm not communicating for the bank. So,
from where you sit.
So from where I sit, I think that the central bank should continue with their good purchase program. I mean, we have always complained that our commodities do not help us. So if today gold is doing so well and is sustained its price at a higher level, why shouldn't Ghana take advantage of it? I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. We should just make sure that we do not put so much of our assets in gold, so that in case the price begins to decline, we don't lose out. But it is important for us to go on with the gold purchase program, because look, what the Gold Board is doing is trying to divert smuggled gold into our foreign exchange markets. Because previously, the gold was being smuggled to, the United Arab Emirates, right? Because they were offering better prices. The Gold Board intervention is giving those prices to the smugglers, of course. I mean, they are not official smugglers, but what we've seen is that the gold export to the UAE has dropped. Because what Ghana records here in terms of the receipts from gold is way lower than what the UAE reports there as export that is received from Ghana, which means that majority of it was being smuggled. So that gap between the two reporting ends, as what received in gold from UAE and what UAE says that received in gold, is deemed to be smuggled. What the Gold Board intervention is doing is to get that smuggled gold back into our fold, because when it's smuggled, the export receipts do not come to the central bank. And so the Gold Board intervention is making sure that these export receipts will come to the central bank or to the economy for it to go onto the market to support the banking system and their supply of forex to importers and other businesses that need the forex for business. So it's important for us to discuss the benefits of that intervention. Because it came at a cost. Don't forget that Gold Board will buy from the small the markets at the international market rates. The central bank, when it gets the gold from Gold Board, will have to report it at official rate, which is lower.
Yes.
And that transmits some losses. But the question is that
the loss you're talking about, there was just 240 million.
Precisely. But the benefits in a study that we did to the Ghanaian economy out of that intervention was more than 20-fold the cost. Because don't forget that at that time, we have projected that in 2025, the average exchange rate was going to be around 14.
Okay.
And then for the Ministry of Finance, in terms of paying government's debt, the exchange rate at 10.5, right, saved Ghana billions of interest payments. Because you pay it in dollars, but you use the cedi to convert to dollars to pay.
The foreign component
precisely
of our debt.
Precisely.
So then, now that has led to a reduction in our public debt.
Precisely. And then the interest payments on that.
True. But then also, there's a projection of our debt, the public debt increasing to over 50%.
Yes.
Debt to GDP.
Yes.
How does that influence the outlook for 2026? Quickly.
I mean, so that is why the building up of reserves is key. Because don't forget that these payments will leave the country in forex. And if we have enough buffers, that can help so it doesn't have an impact on the exchange rate too much. Of course, but we suspended, we suspended our debt repayment because of the debt restructuring.
Right.
So some of it is coming on board and we are going to be paying. But the important thing to note is that we have enough reserve buffers that would sustain that payment and ensure that it doesn't come at a cost to the exchange rate. Because you see, when the exchange rate depreciates so fast, it causes inflation, increases the interest payments of government, it affects the fiscal expenditure, it affects the deficits. The deficit will then go on to lead the government to borrow more, increase the debt, and then gets to those unsustainable levels that we're in as of 2022. That's dropped down to almost 45% now. So at 50%, don't forget that the threshold of our debt restructuring was to get it around 50%.
Perfect.
So if it's going to go at 50%, what we need to do is to make sure that we continue with the stabilization efforts. We need to ensure that the CD is stable. We need to ensure that inflation is low. And if we are able to do these two things, it will influence interest rates in the economy, private sector credit will grow, it will generate jobs, our GDP will grow. And once our GDP is growing faster than the level of inflation, the economy is way off.
But you see, the last point you made, and we're rounding it up, the access to credit for private sector. I saw the Bank of Ghana's own report last week.
Yes.
The credit advancement from the commercial banks, much of it is not going to the real sector. The commercial banks are conveniently investing in instruments. They are putting a lot of their money in instruments, as in investing in government instruments, treasury bills, and so on. How can this be addressed, especially because the real sector needs the money, private sector needs the money to invest, to expand, to influence, and to sustain the growth that we're talking about? Because your interventions obviously made a difference, but it is not enough. Right? So what should be done going forward?
So the banks are reluctant to lend because of the high non-performing loans ratio. I mean, it used to be over 20%, almost 22% some time past. It's dropped to almost 19% now. The important thing is that the banks will not lend if it's going to increase their NPLs. So they become reluctant. But the NPLs are also a function of the macroeconomy. And therefore, so when a businessman comes to borrow and the macroeconomy is not stable, it becomes difficult for the businessman to pay back. And it transforms into a non-performing loan.
Right.
Now, so that the stability that we are enjoying now, if you are able to preserve it, is going to lead the banks to begin to lend to businesses, because then the potential non-performing loans that can come out of that, the new credit that they give out will be lower. And therefore, they will begin to give credit out. Don't also forget that the open market operations that the central bank is doing at a cost, interest cost, it depends on the monetary policy rate. Now, once inflation is very low, you should expect the monetary policy rate to decline, which means that attraction of the the instrument, the bulk bills that you say the commercial banks are attracted to would decline. And therefore, they will look at private sector credit to give out the credit. So the stability of the economy is very critical in the bank's portfolio in terms of the loans that they give out.
And finally, and the currency stability is key. It's an anchor to all what we're looking at. But we see the inflationary risk that this renewed conflict between Israel, that the United States and Iran presents to us. Already we're feeling the impact at the pumps. Okay. And so what should be the thinking? Is because you've talked about the 2026 outlook, but then we are not immune to external shocks that we don't have anything to do with. So how should that influence policy going forward? Quickly, finally, before we
Okay, so we shouldn't be worried too much about the inflationary impact, because one, the margins on the fuel prices have been reduced to contain part of the shock, and inflation is very low at 3.2%. Our target is between 6 and 10%. I mean, so that if the war doesn't continue into the future and it ends, and oil prices decline to the pre-war levels, then we shouldn't expect a sustained increase in inflation.
You see the
rate.
conditional clause of if, because
Yes.
we don't have control over when the war will end.
Yes.
So since we don't have control over it, we should have maximum control over what we can control.
Precisely.
Right.
So if we are doing inflation target and our inflation targeting is between 6 and 10% at 3.2, it gives us some enough policy space. So even if we go within the band, we are still within the inflation targeting band, which is key. So we still have some policy space that will allow some inflation to come in, which will come in anyway, because once the global oil price keep on going up, it will transmit to floor prices. That shouldn't take us out of the band.
Right.
Of between 6 and 10%.
Okay.
And therefore, it will allow monetary policy to be a little bit loose for private sector credit and then for growth to go on. But we are clearly focused on maintaining that price stability. And therefore, our focus within that band is quite clear. And we would, as a member of the committee, we would, I'm not speaking for the committee, but we would ensure.
As an external member.
Yes, give an assurance to the public, both confidence, the consumers and then the businesses, that the inflation target will be maintained. In even the case of the oil prices sustaining themselves at a higher price, we will still continue to make sure that inflation falls within the band. So business should rest assured that they shouldn't have worries about inflation going above the band.
The assurance is that inflation target will be maintained.
It will maintain, yes.
Even
definitely.
with this.
Precisely. Precisely.
Thank you. Professor Ebo Texon, Associate Professor of Economics, external member of the Monetary Policy Committee of the Bank of Ghana, and also a Chief Economist at the Africa Continental Free Trade Area Policy Network. Prof, it's always good to have you. Thank you. Thank you so much for talking to us. This is just the beginning of, next time you come, we'll have to have a bigger, expansive conversation about the economy and other matters related to it. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Professor Ebo Texon. This is Key Point. We'll be back shortly after this quick break. Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa is the Foreign Affairs Minister. He is taking his seat right now. After this quick break, we'll have a conversation. Stay with us.